Same thing we just did here for imaginary number. We're going to use imaginary number to our advantage. Guys, pay attention. This is what you do. Listen up. Put this in your note. This is the format for a quadratic equation, and this is a quadratic formula. Put this in your note. Put this in your note. So far we have, did you all have this down? Did you mark this down? That's the quadratic formula. You guys remember that? Quadratic formula, that's what you use to solve quadratic equations. Solution, to find solution of quadratic equation. Especially if you cannot factor it. Alright, let's do this example here. I'm giving this quadratic equation. Now I cannot do the four method or factor this, so that means I have to use the quadratic formula. Now, quadratic formula is easy because you could use it for any quadratic equation and you will get the solution. So how do we do this? We replace the letters by its value. You see, this is A, B, and C. So I'm going to plug in the equation. So we have x is equal to minus b. There will be minus, minus, there will be plus 2. Plus or minus square root. And then b squared, that's minus 2 squared. Minus 4 times what is a? A is 3. And c is what? 4. You got that so far? Yes. And then you're going to divide this entire thing here times 2 times a. That's 2. What is a? A is 3. That's how you replace the values. All right? You look at the letters here, and then you replace them by its values. So let's simplify this. So what do we have? X is equal to 2 plus or minus square root. What is negative 2 raised to the power of 2? 4. 4. Negative, now I'm not going to put the negative yet, so let me just ask you this. Negative 4 times 3 is what? Negative 12. Negative 12 times 4 gives you what? Negative 48. And then this entire thing is going to be over 6. Now, let's simplify the radical. X, 2 plus or minus 4 minus 48 is what? What would that be? Negative 44. And then this entire thing is divided by 6. Now normally at this point, if you haven't done imaginary number, you'll be stuck here because you cannot find the square root of a negative number. So since you guys know about imaginary numbers, it's much easier for me to do now. How am I going to solve this here, the negative 44? What can I do to solve for it? Remember when we have a radical, let's say that I have negative 4 here, square root of negative 4, what would I do?
You put I radical.
What would I do? Split it into what? Do you remember? I is equal to what? Negative radical square root of negative 1. So this can be written as square root of negative 1 times square root of 4. You got this? I'm splitting it. Square root of negative 1 times square root of 4. And what is square root of negative 1? I. And what is the square root of 4? 2. So this will be equal to 2i. Alright? I like to put my constant before the variable I. So it's the same thing I would do here. So let's split this. This will be x is equal to 2 plus or minus square root of negative 1 times square root of 44 over 6. Now, square root of 44, can I still simplify it? Can I still break it down?
Yes.
What would it be? 11 and 4. You got this? I can still break this down. Let me do this here. So I'm going to go here. So this will be equal to x is equal to 2 plus or minus square root of negative 1 times square root of 4 times square root of 11. You see why? You see what I did this here? I broke this into a perfect square and one that's not. So square root of 44 can be written as square root of 4 times square root of 11. Then I have my square root of negative 1. Now I'm going to replace those values there. What is square root of negative 1? I. And what is square root of 4? 2. So let's rewrite this. So x is equal to 2 plus or minus square root of, that will be I. Square root of 4, that will be 2 times square root of 11. This entire thing over 6. Alright? So far so good? So let me write it by having my 2 before the I. Okay, I like to have it with the 2 before the I. So they will be equal to 2 plus or minus 2i times square root of 11 over 6. Now, this is what x is. Am I done? No. I need to split this into the real part and the imaginary part. So far, if you guys, on the exam, you got it up to this point, then I'll give you the full credit. And that tells me that you know what you're doing. All right? But this is not the final answer. How would I do this to simplify it? What would happen here? So I have to split it into an imaginary part and a real part. Y'all done with this side here?
No. No.
I'm gonna just go up there. Erase this top portion. Yeah. So we're going to move here to here. All right. So this will be equal to x is equal to 2 plus 2i square root of 11 over 6. You see that's the plus part. And then the other one is 2 minus 2i square root of 11 over 6. So you got the two parts now. You got this? I split it. This is plus, and then we have minus. Does it need simplification? Can I simplify it?
You can.
Yes. And what would I do to simplify it? 1/3. But you could break it. What would you do first? I'm going to use this part here. This is what I'll do. I'll factor out a 2 for this one here. So x, 2, factor. What's left here? 1. And what will be here? Plus 1i. Times square root of 11.
How'd you get 1? Let's see, broke
2.
down 2.
If I factor out the 2, what's left for 1? Okay? And then this entire thing over 6. That's what I did for this one here. That's I'm doing this one. So far, so good.
Wait, Mr. Adams, you see down there, right? With the 144. How do you get a 141?
Which one?
Right there.
This one?
No, because
This one?
Yeah, how do you get that?
Remember, this negative one? When you have, remember when you have something that you multiply by square root, let's say that I have this here, square root of -4, you split it into square root of -1 times square root of 4. What is square root of -1? Because square root of -1 times square root of 4 gives you negative square root of -4. So I'm removing the -1 by itself.
Yeah, you just like
Oh,
I see exactly.
That's
Oh,
4.
I thought it was a 1, my bad.
That's a 1. Okay? What is square root of -1? It's I. Okay? So now, guys, we got it to this point here. What do I need to do? I do the same thing on this side here. This side will be 2 parentheses 1 minus I times square root of 11. Now, whether you put 1i or I is the same thing. All right? So what happens after that? Can I just simplify this here? The 2 and the 6?
yes.
And what would that be? Simplified by what? By 2. Then I erase this side here.
Yes.
So my final answer will be, if I simplify this 2 and 6, it will be what? X is equal to 1 plus I square root of 11 over what? 3. And then this side here will be what? Same thing. 1 minus I square root of 11 over 3. So those are my answer
That's a lot.
for this. That's it. All right? Now, the rest up to this point here, guys, all you have to do is split them up and then simplify. But if you got it to this point, I'll give you the credit. Now, if you get all the way in, which is what you're going to need to do, I'll give you the extra credit for that. All right? So basically, I know it's mechanical. Just keep track of your signs and make sure that you understand that once you get the negative square root, you got to split it into a square root of -1 and whatever the value is. Is that understood?
Yes. Yes.
I know it's a long process, it's just much more mechanical. And I think I'd be reading all over. So you guys understand from here, I went from here to here and then down here. So this part is the last part. Let me read this here. So that's my final answer. All right?
Hey, I ain't do that.